I was one of the Yankee fans out there in the offseason that was not optimistic about Aaron Judge staying healthy in the next 4 years, because the next 4 years are probably his best years of the 9-year contract that he signed with the Yankees. And a lot of the reasons why is Aaron Judge is 280 pounds. He's built like an ox. He really is. He's built with all muscle, and he's all power. And he's a 5-tool player. He likes to dive for balls. He will jump into walls. We've seen him do that. And what happened in Dodger Stadium a couple of weeks ago? He jumped into a wall, actually ran through the wall, and hurt his toe. And he has not been on the field since. The problem here, and I know a lot of people say the Yankees' offense is one of the worst in the league. It doesn't matter if their pitching staff is one of the best in the league. Pitching wins championships. We've been saying this about football. We say this about a lot of different sports. It's all about defense, right? Pitching is a form of defense. If you can stop the best hitters in baseball and outpitch them, you're going to win the majority of the games, especially in the big games in the playoffs. The Yankees over the last couple of years have not been a very good hitting team in the playoffs, but have been a very good pitching team in the playoffs. The questions here with the New York Yankees is, what do they do if Aaron Judge does not come back this year? Do they make a trade for maybe a bat or 2 bats or maybe even 3 bats? Brian Cashman, over the years, at the trade deadline, adds a bat to the lineup. Not a big bat. He always finds somebody that nobody wants. They bring him to the Yankees, and he gets hot. We've seen this before. Brian Cashman is very good at bringing in players that nobody wants. And then they find a way. Look at Carpenter. They brought Carpenter in. He starts to hit. Last year, they traded for Harrison Bader. He didn't play all season in the second half until the end of, last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And then he was the hottest hitter for the Yankees in the playoffs. He had 5 home runs. He was hitting close to 300. He was the only Yankee hitting in the playoffs last year. And I understand you need offense, especially if you make the playoffs, because you need to outduel those good teams. All the teams that make it to the playoffs have good pitching and have good lineups. But I will say this. We have seen teams over the years where their lineups were probably ranked in the 20s in the league, and because of their pitching and because of their defense, they find a way to win. Kansas City, that year when they won the World Series, what was it, 2016? 15 when they beat the Mets? Their offense the last 3 weeks of the season was not good. But they had a very good pitching staff, and their rotation, which is led by Johnny Cueto, and that bullpen, which was unstoppable. That was probably the best bullpen in baseball for that 3 or 4 year span. That team, and they were great defensively, that team practically beat you on small ball baseball.
And stolen bases because the Mets were terrible holding on base runners besides DeGrom.
You look at the Yankees right now, the Yankees are going to have to play small ball. They're not hitting the ball. They're not striking out a lot, which they've led the league for the last couple of years in strikeouts. They have a lot of guys that strike out. This year, they just can't hit. And they're hitting for power in some aspects because the Yankees are in the top 10 in home runs, but that's all they're doing. And this has been the problem for Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman's been trying to figure this out. There's no lefties in this lineup either. It's been a huge problem. And this is, when you look at the Yankees and you look at the position that the Yankees have been over the last couple of years, especially trying to find left-handed power, it just, I don't know what their plan is moving forward, especially going into the trade deadline. Now, I do believe Aaron Judge will be back sometime this year. I do. I really do. Even if he's hurt. And he already said that he's not going to be 100%, and he will probably need surgery to get to 100%. And even then, he says he could be hurt for the next 2 or 3 years. So he's pretty much not optimistic about his health. But sitting here today and going back and forth on trying to figure out where the Yankees are going to go at the trade deadline, that's not going to solve the problem right now. The only thing that's going to solve the problem is if the Yankees keep pitching, Carlos Rodon comes back or eventually shows up at the end of July and it gets added to this rotation. You have Frankie Montas, who a lot of people believe will be back in August, where you can obviously move him into the bullpen if you need bullpen arms. Cordero is out for the season because of the domestic violence situation. So the Yankees got to move pieces and then figure out what they're going to do with this lineup.